The snow had stopped falling, but the cold still bit like teeth. Somewhere beyond the firelight, a pair of eyes caught the last orange glow of dying embers. A wolf, ribs pressed tight against her hide, had followed the scent of blood and meat for miles. On the other side of that fragile ring of light, a hunter, bone-tired and half-frozen, gripped a spear he barely had strength to lift. Neither of them moved. In that frozen heartbeat, somewhere between fear and curiosity, something ancient and unspoken passed between predator and man. A decision that neither could have known would eventually reshape the destiny of two entirely different species. To understand how that moment came to exist, we have to travel back tens of thousands of years into a world locked in ice. Glaciers stretched across entire continents, swallowing forests and carving valleys that would take millennia to reappear. Life in this era was a relentless negotiation with death. Every calorie mattered. Every night could be the last. Humans lived in small mobile bands, following herds of mammoth, bison, and reindeer, always one bad hunt away from starvation. And they were not the only predators competing for that same fragile bounty. Wolves, intelligent and fiercely adaptive, hunted in tightly bonded packs, using strategy, patience, and communication far beyond what most animals of that time were capable of. In many ways, ancient wolves and ancient humans were mirror images of each other. Social, cooperative hunters relying on group loyalty to survive a brutal world. If you're enjoying this journey into the icebound past, take a moment to like the video. It helps this story reach more curious minds like yours. As Ice Age humans hunted large game, they left behind something wolves could not resist: scraps, bones, and carcasses stripped of their most valuable meat but still rich in fat and marrow. For a hungry wolf watching from a safe distance, a human camp must have looked like an extraordinary opportunity, a concentrated, if dangerous, source of food that appeared again and again in the same general areas. Most wolves would have kept their distance, driven by instinct and fear. But nature rarely deals in absolutes. Some individual wolves, whether through genetics, temperament, or sheer necessity, were simply bolder, calmer, and less reactive to the presence of humans. These wolves lingered a little longer at the edges of camps. They didn't flee at the first sound of voices or crackling fire. And critically, humans didn't always drive them away. This is where science begins to fill in the gaps left by time. Genetic studies comparing modern wolves and dogs suggest that domestication was not a single event, but a gradual biological transformation unfolding over thousands of years. Researchers have identified divergence in wolf and dog lineages, dating back roughly somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, a range still debated fiercely among scientists. Some argue domestication began in Europe, others point to Siberia or East Asia, and many now believe multiple regions may have played a role independently. The truth, most experts agree, is still not fully settled, and that mystery is part of what makes this story so compelling. If you have a theory of your own about where or how this alliance began, drop it in the comments. This is one of those rare mysteries where amateur curiosity and expert research often walk the same path. Archaeological evidence adds another powerful layer to this puzzle. Ancient burial sites have revealed remains of wolf-like canines buried deliberately alongside humans, sometimes with clear signs of care, such as healed injuries that would have required feeding and protection to survive. One especially striking discovery, a jawbone recovered from a cave in Belgium and dated to over 30,000 years ago, shows physical traits distinct from wild wolves of that era. Shorter snouts and crowded teeth, suggestive of early domestication, though scientists continue to debate whether this represents a true transitional dog or simply an unusual wolf population. What we do know through converging genetic and archaeological evidence is that a slow and powerful selective process was underway. Wolves that tolerated human presence, that could read human body language, and that avoided aggressive confrontation were far more likely to survive near these camps and pass on their calmer temperament to their offspring. Generation after generation, this quiet filtering of personality traits nudged an ancient wild predator down a genetic path toward companionship. This theory, often called self-domestication, remains one of the leading explanations, though some researchers argue humans may have played a more active, intentional role by adopting wolf pups and raising them within their communities. Either way, something remarkable was happening. Trust, an idea we rarely associate with the brutal Ice Age world, was slowly taking root between species. Humans likely began to notice practical advantages as this relationship deepened. Wolves possessed extraordinary senses of smell and hearing, capable of detecting approaching predators or nearby prey long before humans could. In exchange for food and protection, these early proto-dogs may have offered warning, companionship, and even help during hunts. Over dozens of generations, physical changes began appearing. Skulls shortened, teeth grew smaller, temperaments softened. The wolf that once eyed the human camp from a cautious distance had, through nothing but survival and selection, begun the long transformation into humanity's first and most enduring animal companion. And if this story has captivated you so far, consider subscribing to this channel. There are far more untold chapters from the ancient world still waiting to be uncovered. By the time true agricultural societies emerged thousands of years later, dogs were already deeply embedded in human life, appearing in art, burial rituals, and daily survival strategies across multiple continents. What began as a cautious, fearful standoff in the freezing dark had evolved into one of the most significant partnerships in the history of life on Earth. Not through domination, but through mutual necessity, patience, and an extraordinary slowly built trust. That single frozen moment between a starving wolf and an exhausted hunter was never really about one meal or one encounter. It was the opening chapter of a bond that would outlive empires, cross continents, and forever intertwine two species' survival stories. From that fragile firelight, truce emerged a friendship still walking beside humanity today. If you want more historically grounded documentaries exploring the mysteries of our ancient past, subscribe now, because the story of who we were is far from finished.